Hey everyone, this is Paul Gale from paulgalnetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is November 25th, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. Before I kick things off though, I will say, if you are in the United States or even elsewhere in the world and want to join us, happy Thanksgiving to all of you watching. It's, yes, a holiday that we celebrate here in the U.S., but you might want to celebrate for whatever reason around the world and just enjoy our fun. So, hey, the more the merrier, right? But to those of you that do celebrate, and even if you don't, just my little time right now to say thank you for being here. I appreciate you watching, liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, dropping comments, showing up to some live stream events like when we do it for E3 and such. And whether you're here for my video game news or talking discussion points, my unboxing videos, hype talk around a movie, live streams, or my martial arts, fitness advice, Dragon Ball Z, Super Mario, pool mosaic content, whatever the case may be. Thank you. It's nice engaging with everyone. Even though we have a small community, it's fun. So hopefully you have as good of a time listening to me talk as I do sharing my thoughts, opinions, martial arts, tutorials, and so forth. So I appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's hop into game news today, which is going to be on the short side, honestly. But we'll start off with Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. It came out in theaters yesterday, November 24th. It was one of those Wednesday films. And I personally saw it Tuesday night on the 23rd and enjoyed it quite a bit. Not to give you a spoiler really, but it does marriage together the stories of Resident Evil 1 and 2, the games, into one film that takes place in 1998. It goes over all the characters that you see here. We've got Leon Kennedy, Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, and Jill Valentine. Wesker's in it, several other characters from those first couple of games. And it does a good job, I think, telling two stories at one from a couple of different character standpoints. You've got the folks in the police station, you've got the folks in the mansion, you have a Hollywood movie, so it keeps things a little bit fresh and entertaining, that you don't exactly see every plot point coming, but pretty faithful at the same point to the original games that we loved so much from 20 years ago. So I think overall a pretty good film. Fun, in my opinion. With a small budget too, I hope that it actually does really well. I hope it makes its money and then some, because this new direction, yes, we've had Resident Evil live action films for many years, but this new direction, I think, following the games more, is pretty cool, and I wouldn't mind seeing this cast continue with a Resident Evil 3, a Code Veronica, a 4, like following the game series more traditionally and moving forward. It was nice to see Robbie Amell in there, familiar face. My friend Neil McDonough was in it too. We go back to 2008 when we first met, and then again in 2013. And he's a cool guy. Been in a lot of things. He was M. Bison in the Street Fighter Legends of Chun-Li movie. He had a great role in Desperate Housewives back in the day. Really cool actor. You might have recognized him. He was actually in Sonic the Hedgehog with Jim Carrey that just came out last year, along with James Marsden. Not James Marsden, but wait. I forgot the actor's name at the moment. Is it James Marsden? Scott Summers? Cyclops? Yeah, I think so. Anyhow, cool movie. So for what it's worth, I recommend it. Don't expect, a perfect 10 out of 10 cinematic masterpiece, but it's also not a no one thought about it, nobody put any care into this video game adaptation movie. No, it's actually really good. It's really solid. I had a lot of fun. No major complaints. Now, I did see another movie, kind of deviating a little bit from video games here, but I saw Ghostbusters a couple of days before this, and that was actually fantastic. In my opinion, Ghostbusters was like a really good movie. If I had to pick one to see today or this weekend, between the two, it'd have to be Ghostbusters. Paul Rudd and the crew did a fantastic job. No spoilers, but The movie hit on a lot of elements, paying tribute to the past, making sense out of what would have happened in the world probably in the last 30 years. Certain homage segments, good amount of nostalgia. Another movie that I actually want to see continue going forward. I personally liked the primarily woman cast from a few years ago, 2016, with Chris Hemsworth in it, that Ghostbusters take. I liked it. I thought that was a funny movie. A couple of cameos and stuff. But this movie, this Ghostbusters, is a sequel just many years later from that original crew of 1 and 2. And whether you see Resident Evil or Ghostbusters, by the way, stay tuned for that mid-credits, post-credits scene. It's worth hanging around to. But yeah, Ghostbusters is the better film overall, but Resident Evil is no slouch. If you like video games, if you like video game movies, if you like Resident Evil, I think you're going to like the movie. It's a good time. Really good. But yeah, I had to get that out of the way because it's still video game related, right? Okay, now let's move on. And this is actually the last topic, one of two really, that we have to discuss today. And that is our Famitsu charts. This is from Chris 1964 from the installbaseforum.com forums, putting this together. But these are Famitsu's charts that you could get at famitsu.com. But I just like this community, as I mention all of the time. And these are the sales that occupy week 47 of 2021 from that November 15th to November 21st time frame. At number 1, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl debuted at a massive 1,395,642 physical copies sold. That blows away the several hundred thousand that Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee did back in 2018. It also edges out slightly Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield from 2019. In fact, this pair of games, which counts as one, did so well that it's the number 2 best opening weekend game of any Nintendo Switch game in Japan in the last 4.5 years, only to be outdone by Animal Crossing, which had a larger physical debut than this. We don't know what the digital tie-in ratio was, but it's not unimaginable to say that the game very well could have cleared 2 million in Japan alone in one 3-day weekend. I mean, we're looking at a 5-6 million plus selling opening weekend overall around the world, and probably 5 or 6 is on the low end, honestly. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if it cleared 8, maybe even higher. But yeah, 5 to 6 is my low end, like, to be safe. But 8, that's reasonable with digital and physical worldwide. But that's obviously just speculation on my part. So major props to the Pokemon Company and Nintendo. That's just great news. It's also the first time that a remake pair of games coming out after a main series entry pair of games outsold it, Usually we get a new game in the series, a remake, a new game in the series, a remake. That's kind of been the theme for the last several years in Pokemon titles. That new one sells more, the remake sells less. The next new one sells more, the next remake of the old game sells less. But here you go. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl outsold 2019's Sword and Shield. Now you could say, well, there are more gamers in Japan that own a Nintendo Switch now than there were a couple of years ago. But even still, this is a series first, so pretty cool seeing. It's healthy, that's for sure. At number 2, Mario Party Superstars with 39,797 copies sold. At 3 is the PlayStation 4 version of Battlefield 2042, a new release, by the way, with 25,268 copies. At 4, Shin Megami Tensei 5 for Nintendo Switch with 22,513. It had an 84% drop. That's big. It's to be expected, though, honestly. Single player, first person, well, not first person, but single player RPG games, is what I meant to say, in Japan, usually very front-loaded with a big opening weekend and then a massive drop-off. However, that Nintendo Switch effect is real, and real in both the sense that a lot of series that are on Nintendo Switch are doing their best ever on this platform, best-selling Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers, Mario Party, Mario Kart, Pokemon since the originals, 3D Mario, Luigi's Mansion, the list goes on, Legend of Zelda, etc. But also a longer tail end for a lot of titles, even smaller games. That evergreen approach, whether you're a pure, bam, top 10 evergreen that's on the charts always, or those smaller games that are having a longer lifespan. So Shin Megami Tensei 5 had a comparable drop to other RPGs that are, very front-loaded, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this game having a longer tail, lasting longer in the charts, getting a little bit of a boost throughout the holidays, going into the end of the year and early 2022. And then again, this is only physical. With digital thrown in there, the game is probably past 200,000 by now, or close to it, and we'll definitely hit 250,000 lifetime in Japan, if not more. We'll see. I'll update you as I get more information. At 5 is the PlayStation 5 version of Battlefield 2042, not too far down from the PS4 edition. It had 21,637 copies sold. At 6 is Ring Fit Adventure for Nintendo Switch with 11,822. At 7, Animal Crossing New Horizons with 11,149. It jumped up 20%. At 8, Minecraft on Nintendo Switch with 10,084. It had a nice 15% bump. At 9 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for Nintendo Switch with 9,890 copies sold. Nice 11% bump from the previous week. And at 10, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, pretty much neck and neck with last week. It moved 8,621 copies. It's a split of 8 on Nintendo Switch, 1 on PS4, 1 on PS5. And with PS5 being out for a year in Japan at this point, you would really think that by now you would see a better representation of PlayStation 5 on these charts, but you don't. For a couple of reasons, and we'll look at hardware in a second, but Sony really doesn't seem to be having too great of an interest in the Japanese market. They are really pushing the PlayStation 5 hard in the West. Most of their stock is going out there to the United States and to Europe. They're competing for that global westward mindshare, that Hollywood approach. Hit the US, hit Canada, hit the various European markets, even give more representation, I would say, in Australia than Japan. Pulling out of Japan is interesting, though, because a lot of smaller Japanese developers are going to want to have their games sell well. Will they abandon making software on PS5 altogether? No, because if you're a smaller Japanese developer, you know that your game on PS5 will probably still sell well and be well received in the US and in Europe, but you are taking away the Japanese market. So we're probably going to see more games last longer on the Nintendo Switch, especially smaller titles, further into the generation, because if you're in Japan, there really is one console that's worth talking about sales-wise. As good as the Xbox Series is doing now compared to Xbox in the past, you'll look at hardware in a moment, it's still way far away from Nintendo Switch. So if you want your game to do well in Japan and have a strong, talk around the various cities, you're keeping your title on Nintendo. And in some cases, if you're a really small developer, if you're an indie developer in Japan, you might completely skip it on PS5, because why even bother with a port on PS5 or Xbox Series X when the percentage of people that own it compared to Nintendo is so laughably giant? That gap, that what's the point? It's going to cost you more to put it on than you'll probably make back at that point. So things are looking good for Nintendo. I do think that if Sony did ship out more consoles of the PS5 to Japan, we would be seeing, 30, 40,000 systems sold every week, probably regardless of whether a lot of quality titles were coming out for it, but neither is the case. There's not a whole lot of interest in PS5 games coming out to buy a PS5 for, nor is there really enough stock to even buy the PS5 in the first place. So it's kind of a lose-lose in Japan right now. I think a couple of entries that come out, like Final Fantasy 16, could change things around, but once again, that's only if Sony pumps out the stock. Could they be waiting for that kind of moment to really hit Japan hard when they have something sizable and now start pumping out 80,000 units every week and just satisfy the Western markets first? It's hard to say exactly, but Sony's really kind of jumping ship in Japan, and it's kind of weird to see. There's not even an attempt at fighting. Moving into hardware, here's what I'm talking about. Nintendo Switch. It had a nice bump because it did have Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but Nintendo Switch sold a massive 167,778 units for the week, up tremendously by 80,000 over last week, and only down 12,000 from last year. We had a bigger launch this week than last year, respectively, for the Pokemon games, but last year we did have some bundles like the Ring Fit Adventure bundle with Nintendo Switch and Super Mario Party bundle. So yeah, you could see why last year sold a little bit more, and also stock chip shortages. It is a real thing. Coming in at second place, though, gosh, just look at this gap. It's a 1 in 40 ratio. PS5 sold 1/40th of Nintendo Switch, and it came in at number 2, 4,307. This is not how the rest of the world looks like, If you have one system at 100, the next one's like at 82, and the next one's at 71, and, no, that's kind of fair. This is 167 to 4. An Xbox Series coming in at 3 with 3,422. 3DS at 365. And the PS4 at 188. These systems are on their way out. It's just whatever stock is left, what's available. But this is really telling. If you break it down a little further, let's see. Xbox Series X, it got some more stock this week, 2,203. Last week was kind of low, 350. Xbox Series S now with the 1,219. Last week it was the 2,243. So those numbers kind of flipped around with X taking the lead. The PS5 regular, it moved 4,134. The digital edition, 173. Now you look at the Nintendo Switch side of things. OLED. See, like I said, when OLED was down in sales for a couple of weeks under the original model, it wasn't because of lack of interest. It's just a stock matter. Here you have OLED showing if stock is available, people want it more. People are willing to spend that extra $50 or yen equivalent. 68,796 Nintendo Switch OLED units were sold. 60,512 regular Nintendo Switch units, and 38,470 Nintendo Switch Lite units. That's a pretty healthy breakdown. Another cool thing about this week is that lifetime to date in Japan on the Nintendo Switch side of things, the console is at 22 million. Check this out. 3DS is at 24.5 million. So we have 2,560,000 away. That gap is going to shrink quite a bit in the next several weeks of the year. 5-6 weeks from now, 3DS will still be a little bit ahead. I don't think that Nintendo Switch is going to sell 2.5 million in the last chunk of 2022, but it will have some powerhouse weeks. It'll have some 260,000 plus weeks. Maybe we get like a 300,000 week or so in there. So that number is going to go up a lot. We'll definitely, pass 23 million easily. But sometime in the first half of 2022, Nintendo Switch will have topped the 3DS and now try to go a little higher and higher to reach the DS territory. That's going to be a tough one, but I think it's definitely possible. If you look at the PlayStation side of things, PS5 last year with its 42,000, and you can see its drop. Just Sony not interested in shipping out as many. Xbox side of things, pretty cool actually for Microsoft. 3,684 units for last year versus this year's 3,422. Just a couple hundred units shy. Xbox is doing better respectively for itself and it as a platform in Japan than Sony is. You see that, you know, the PlayStation 5 is still far ahead of Xbox Series, 1.1 million versus, 122,000, but respectively of where Sony used to be to where they are now, giant drop. Xbox, what they used to be to where they are now, actually, significantly higher, and that's pretty cool for them. All right, that's going to do it today for video game news. Like I said, a little bit on the shorter side in terms of content to talk about, but still had a good time talking about Resident Evil, diving into Ghostbusters a little bit, going into the Famitsu sales. As always, if you are looking for some great bundles, or I should say great deals, wherever you go, no matter what platform you're playing on, you're going to have a good time and a pretty easy time finding something. Nintendo Switch eShop, on the PlayStation Network, on the Xbox Live platform. If you're looking for a Game Pass, you'll find discounts on it. PS Plus, you'll find discounts on it. Individual sales on games, you'll find discounts. GameStop, Target, Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, everyone's got sales going on. You could buy titles that you missed out earlier in the year. Monster Hunter Rise, for instance, $22 at GameStop. Definitely recommend that title. Guardians of the Galaxy, a fairly new game, $25. You could find it online, Amazon. Super cheap. Whether it's a buy two, get one free deal out there, or just these massive price drops like GameStop, for instance, Nintendo Switch. A lot of their titles are like 60% off. You could get Breath of the Wild for $28, down from $60. If you don't have Breath of the Wild at this point, come on, for more than half off, get with it. That's one of the best games of all time right there, and you could get it for under 30. Phenomenal deal. But yeah, right now is a good time to kind of build up that back catalog, or even get some new titles that are just on sale. Ratchet and Clank, Ghost of Tsushima, Director's Cut. Those titles are on sale. You could even find, Spider-Man is a last year title, but Spider-Man Miles Morales on sale as well. Something really new like Shin Megami Tensei 5, not on sale, but you could bundle it up in one of those buy two, get one free deals, and then as a result, get SMT5 for $40. And that's pretty cheap and pretty well worth it, especially if you could find a couple of other games that round it out and make that deal happen. But anyways, happy Thanksgiving to all of you celebrating. If you're not celebrating it, just have a great Thursday and have an awesome weekend. Thank you for being here. I'm grateful, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.